Alabama's making a strong push for 2027 four-star edge. Stick around. Let's talk about it. This is Way Offsides. 3, 2, let's go. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever the case may be. Welcome to Way Offsides. Let's talk some recruiting. You guys love that stuff. So here we are. Alabama right now is still working on finalizing its 2026 class. I do think that there are some surprises still to come as we move through the fall. There are going to be some flips. This is just how this works as we approach the early signing period in December. But Bama is also starting to focus heavily on its 2027 class. Now, one area it has kind of struck out a little bit is that edge in the 2026 class. Things aren't done. There's still a lot of hype around guys like Tank Jones. We'll see. I personally think he's going to stick with his Oregon commitment, but Alabama is still in communication with him, as are other schools like Auburn. And so we'll see what happens there if they're able to lure him back home. However, Bama does want to address the edge position in their 2027 class. We've already had four-star edge Jabarius Garor on with us, did an interview with him. He talked about Alabama. He's already committed to Alabama. But there are other guys in this class who I think are going to kind of shoot up the recruiting boards as we get closer to that big push into the 2027 class later in the spring and the summer. And one of those has kind of been hit on by Blake Byler. And so Blake Byler, I trust him. I actually follow a lot of his stuff. Really good dude. He works for On3. You know how I feel about On3 as a whole, but Byler is one of the folks that I actually enjoy kind of engaging with and following. He has talked about four-star edge Derwin Dirt Fields, and Fields let him know that Alabama is still very much in pursuit of him, still in contact with him, and that Alabama has been a school that he's been liking since he was young. Now, this seems insignificant, right? I get it. Like, we're talking about a 2027 guy, but Alabama already has an edge commit in this class in Garor, who committed over a year ago. Just talking to him and doing our interview, you can go watch that on the channel when you're done here. I felt like Garor was pretty locked in with the Tide. Now things change. We're talking about kids, really, kids who are being offered a lot of different things and promised a lot of different things. But it's definitely a position that Alabama is going to have to address in their 2027 class, assuming they're not able to flip anybody else in their 2026 class. And Fields is a really good option. He is right now, he is the number 9 edge in the class, overall rating by Rivals at 92. He's the number 71, so he's top 100 player, number 71 player nationally. He's the number 3 player in the state of Mississippi. Alabama has had some success in terms of going into the state of Mississippi and pulling some guys out. They've had some guys who they thought they were going to be able to pull out and then weren't, such as Caleb Cunningham. But the Brookhaven edge, he stands at 6'5", 225 already. Absolutely ridiculous going into his junior year. He's got offers from everybody. Of course, the Mississippi schools, Ole Miss, Auburn has offered him. Southern Miss has offered him. Right now, leading, according to Rivals, in his recruitment would be Florida and USC. I expect Bama to kind of make this guy a little bit of a priority, try to get him on campus. Ohio State is going after him, FSU, Notre Dame, Miami, Nebraska, Oklahoma State. There's a lot of schools that are already involved in this. And this is one of those kids that I think really could kind of shoot up the recruiting boards as we get closer into the season. Now, he's already taken a couple of visits. These are unofficials, of course. Back in April, he visited Florida and USC. Those are the two top, battling it out. But what I really like, and the bigger theme of this video, is that Alabama is staying on top of these dudes. And that bodes well for their 2026 class, their 2027 class, because what we heard a lot in talking to recruits and their families before summer visits and even after summer visits, Xavier Griffin was one of them, Nick Abrams, even though he decided to commit to Georgia, Jet Thamala, a lot of these guys told us that like the relationships and what the culture is breeding there in Tuscaloosa is very, very important. That starts with recruiting. It starts with staying in constant contact, building a relationship. I believe guys like C. Rob and folks like that are involved heavily with this recruitment. In fact, I think Christian Robinson is his primary recruiter. And so this is a guy, just watch as we move through things. It's going to be slow right now. There's not a lot going on the recruiting trail. However, as the season starts, there's going to be a ton of 2027 guys. A lot of folks are going to be visiting that Tennessee game. Jet Thamal is going to be there for that game. I think pretty much everybody who's committed to Alabama is going to be there for that game. I think Thamal is actually going to be at the game first week. The FSU game, or maybe it's the ULM game with his family. So I feel like with the fall coming, a lot of these recruits are going to take visits places to experience game day atmospheres. That's going to be huge for Alabama, especially with their schedule this year. They've got some big names coming to Tuscaloosa, Tennessee, obviously LSU. And so getting these recruits in front of them during these games, those will be two big recruiting weekends for the Tide. I would not be surprised if Dirt Fields, that's his nickname, Dirt Fields, wound up at one of those games. We're going to be covering a lot more in terms of recruiting and who you can start putting on your recruiting boards as we move through the fall. Obviously, flip season is on the way. That is something that you're definitely not going to want to ignore, because a lot of things will affect Alabama positively and potentially negatively as the season progresses. The best way to keep track of it all is just to like and subscribe. Leave a big Roll Tide down in the comment section. Also hit the notification bell and you won't miss a thing. Thanks for sticking around with me. As always, say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands, horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Roll Tide.